You can't win this one, Max.
No. But I can make damn sure none of you do either.
Max Payne is a fixed point in the history of video games, up there with Doom, Half-Life, Super Mario Bros., and other games that old people have heard of. I don't say this because I think Max Payne is as good of a game as those others. I think Max Payne 2 is better, actually. Max Payne came along and basically defined how third-person shooters were going to work for the next few years. A lot would have bullet time because that was still cool. The Matrix hit like an atomic bomb in 1999, and there were pastiches and parodies of it for years. It was a lot of American audiences' first introductions to gun fu, popularized overseas and here by the movies of John Woo. Yeah, look, Civvie's talking about John Woo and Hard Boiled again. I know, someone out there is screaming at their phone, talk about The Killer or A Better Tomorrow. But nah, I'm still gonna go with Hard Boiled. It's the best one, and you're not gonna convince me otherwise. Anyway, people jumping around with two pistols in slow motion was invented, and many people recognized how cool acrobatic gunplay was. Sure, you could stand in the middle of a field and shoot a machine gun and then cut to another shot of a guy falling down and maybe spice it up with some squibs. Or you could do a one-take as your two heroes push their way through a hospital, staging everything to happen in front of the viewer's eyes, making the action itself more visceral. Or as I would say, the correct way to shoot action. Keep your camera on the actors who are doing things so you can visually contextualize what's going on. The impacts need to have weight. Yeah, John Wick uses CGI blood, which sucks, but also has these knockdown, drag-out fights with incredibly talented stunt performers that use the environment to their advantage to do all of this cool stuff. John Wick knows what's up. Eli Roth does not. Can I just take a minute to talk about how fucking bad the action is in this Borderlands clip?
You can bring your family, your loved ones, bring them to the movie.
It's pretty easy to make a bad action movie, I think, in that you have to set out to make an action movie and then you don't know how to do that. Like Eli Roth, director of hit action movies Cabin Fever, Hostel. No, wait, those are gore flicks. You hired Eli Roth, purveyor of gore flicks and torture porn, to direct your PG-13 action movie based on a famously violent franchise.
I don't want to say what we're filming, but it's lots of blood, lots of guts. It's totally bonkers, but it's also very Borderlands.
You can bring your family, your loved ones.
So it was like a 7.5.
If ever there were an opportunity to dissect a bad action scene that I can contrast with what good action is, oh boy! This clip from Borderlands was recently released, and it looks like absolute shit. I don't say that to disrespect the people working on it, except Randy, Eli Roth, whoever wrote this, but especially whoever fucking edited this. This clip was edited by either A, an incredibly stupid person, or B, someone who didn't have time or good enough footage to cut something good together, because this is embarrassing. Using this to promote your action movie is like using Kevin Spacey to promote the YMCA. You might be in the comments saying that this clip isn't that bad. Well, you're wrong.
Keep it down. Don't want to.
Okay, right there, you see how they had someone laughing in the background, a male voice that wasn't Kevin Hart or Jack Black? Which means it's this guy playing Krieg, except the goddamn thing cuts to him and he clearly isn't laughing.
Fucking roll!
But then he's suddenly attacked from above. They kick this psycho into some boxes, and then a bunch of psychos run in from this hallway that we assume has to be behind where Roland and Tannis were because it acts like a reverse shot. But it is absolutely not the same place. And then Lilith, she brings out two pistols, which you think, man, that's gonna be cool because it should be. And she flicks them towards the enemy in a very John Woo Hong Kong action kind of way, where aiming the gun is secondary to looking cool while firing it. I guess it's kind of cool, though, given the gunslinging to the Siren character seems odd. Anyway, whoever was directing or editing this forgot that these things need to actually have an impact, and so the gunfighting in this is atrocious. It moves so fast and it's so muddy and dark that I had to pause to see that Lilith is firing her guns here in two different directions. So the clip cuts to one guy falling down at an angle we haven't seen, so spatially this motherfucker could be anywhere, but your cool setup doesn't matter because she fired two shots and you showed one guy falling. bloodlessly because PG-13. This guy gets shot and looks like he slipped on a banana peel. This is Uwe Boll tier shit. Suddenly Lilith gets tackled into a box by a big guy, and never mind, he doesn't exist anymore because she pops out of the box to fire her guns at nothing. This is actually a smart film nerd reference to the great train robbery, like in Goodfellas. No, I'm kidding, it just sucks. And then more guys come in from that hallway that's now different, again like it was originally, and characters fucking teleport between shots. The two biggest problems with this are the editing and the staging of the scene itself, where your heroes are almost exclusively shooting blindly at off-screen stuff that responds more lifelessly than the game enemies. The only passable fighting is Krieg doing melee because it's the only place where you see a character doing a thing and then the thing has a believable physical response. I would say, without a doubt, that either Eli Roth doesn't know how to shoot action, doesn't care, or they sanitized it so much to get a PG-13 so that all the kids could go see it. You know, all the Gen Alphas who are so into Borderlands and going to the theater to see movies. So let's say you take out the middleman of the characters or the editing and transport your action to an interactive medium, where your character is always visible and there's been literal years of work put into making sure that all of the player's actions have definitive audio-visual feedback on the environment, where everything violently explodes into debris. You can still do that in PG-13, you know, props don't bleed.
You can bring your family, your loved ones, bring them to the movie.
Fuck you, Randy. In 1996, Finnish game company Remedy had just finished a game called Death Rally, which was published by our old friends at Apogee Software. They needed dialogue for their game, so you know what they did? They hired a fucking writer, which I cannot recommend enough for games that want to have stories in them. Hire a writer. The writer in question was a student at the University of Helsinki named Sam Lake. Yeah, you starting to put it together yet? So Remedy starts pitching ideas to Apogee's Scott Miller, who claims they pitched him an isometric shooter, and he talked them into making a true third-person action game like Tomb Raider. Remember, this is like 1997. Max Payne, or whatever working title they were using, Max Heat or Dick Justice or Blake Stone, and Sam Lake is now responsible for the story and screenplay, later becoming creative director at Remedy. Sam Lake wants to write a dark, noir-influenced story, and Remedy lead Petri Yarvaletto envisioned an action game that had slow-motion gunplay like in Hong Kong action movies. It would be a couple of years before The Matrix popularized bullet time, which wasn't really a gameplay mechanic at the beginning, but it was so cool in the tech demonstrations that they added it in later so that the player could use it at the push of a button. Yes, it's entirely possible that Max Payne beat The Matrix to introducing Hong Kong-style slow-mo to us, but the game took forever to come out. 3D Realms publishes Max Payne in 2001 to critical and commercial success. Max Payne defined third-person shooters until about the time Resident Evil 4 hit. And finally, I can talk about a classic game made by a talented studio, and you know what? They didn't get shut down. Remedy went on to produce banger after banger. Although I haven't played Quantum Break or Alan Wake 2 yet. I know I really need to get around to playing Alan Wake 2. Their major success started here, and for better or worse, Max Payne has all the elements that would make Remedy successful going forward. Good writing, a real grasp on mixing disparate tones, having serious moments while not taking the whole thing too seriously, because the story of a fugitive cop that's hopelessly addicted to painkillers who can't get over the death of his family is a little grim. So throw in some Twin Peaks references and a stellar performance from the late James McCaffrey that sells the shit out of the role, in spite of Sam Lake's constipation face stretched over Max's mostly square mug. Katie, please. And you've got a recipe for an evergreen gaming classic. Max Payne opens up cinematically. The cutscenes show us the snowy New York setting that we'll be going through for the rest of the game. A deliciously atmospheric and gritty hellhole full of corruption.
They were all dead. The final gunshot was an exclamation mark to everything that had led to this point. I released my finger from the trigger, and then it was over.
The cutscenes are mostly not told in-game, but with comic panels. This is the end of our story, and it looks awesome, right? There's no context to it yet, so it spoils nothing. Not that the final boss is anything to spoil. Max is an NYPD detective with a decent life. He's got a house in the suburbs, in Jersey, so I guess things could be better. This game has a tutorial level that doesn't register as that at first, because it kills your wife and baby. Like right there. And McCaffrey gives one of the all-time best. No! Outstanding. And the game is like, go pick up that phone, dumbass. This is how the story's gonna be told during gameplay for the most part.
Listen, someone's broken into my house. Call 911.
Is this the Payne residence?
Yes, someone's broken into my house. They're still here. You have to...
Good. I'm afraid I cannot help you.
The people who broke into Max's house are junkies addicted to the designer drug Valkyr, which, unlike in the movie, does not give you superpowers. It instead turns you into a jabbering maniac. You get one gun, then two guns, then oh god your baby is dead, and then so is your wife, and man, this is brutal. Who opens a game like this? So you can kinda understand why Max is such a dead-eyed death seeker throughout this game, and maybe sometimes he makes some bad decisions. After finding out that the junkies were on Valkyr, Max gets a transfer to the DEA, and 3 years later he's undercover in the mob. Which leads us to the events of the game, which starts with Max in a subway stumbling into a robbery in progress. After a long period of downloading patches and fixes to get this game to play nice and run properly under Windows 10 and 4K, I begin the journey into the night that is Max Payne. Max sees a dead transit cop and pulls out his gun.
Death was in the air at Roscoe Street. I'd have to find Alex fast.
Alex being his partner at the DEA. We'll find him later. For now, I have to look in every one of these cabinets and grab ammo and painkillers.
The pills would hold the pain back for a while.
Max's health isn't a number, it's an icon that fills up with red the more damage he takes, giving you some back if it's above his neck, regenerating to the point where he still wouldn't survive more than one more shot anyway. This game has never been merciful.
Wasn't Jake supposed to take care of this?
He and Mickey are having too much fun taking care of the cop up.
Ah shit, he saw my arm. Time to make the donuts. It's cool that I got a Desert Eagle, but I had to take a hit because I had the auto-equipped new weapon option on. Still, this is a good demonstration of the structure of a Max Payne gunfight. Goons are hanging around, talking, and you interrupt them with bullets. It makes their existence in the world feel organic. When the last one dies, it goes into slow motion. You get the Desert Eagle immediately, which is great because it's going to be your best long-range weapon for a while. You can't dual-wield them until Max Payne 2, unfortunately. Then you get a shotgun, which you'll always have plenty of ammo for, which I feel is better outside of bullet time because of how long it takes to cock the thing in between shots. You find another transit cop and he's got something to teach you too, which is don't stand in front of the doors you open. What follows is the first real fight of the game, where you've got 4 of these goombas, these crooks, I'm sorry, I'm actually saving all my mob jokes for the Fallen Aces video. Max Payne is not an easy game, even on this skill, Fugitive, which once completed will unlock the other modes like Hard Boiled and New York Minute. I didn't beat this game on those because I always felt the game was hard enough. That's right, I deprived the audience of the pro-Payne pun, because I'm a monster. And the reason for that is the thing I only found out while researching this video, which is that the difficulty is fucking broken. So Max Payne, for some goddamn reason, has dynamic difficulty. Depending on how often you die in a set period of time, the game can lower or raise the difficulty on you. Except this is broken. There are mods to disable it, but I'm not using one. This is how I've always known Max Payne, as being ball-crushingly unfair after like level 3. The game will not tolerate failure. Enemy attacks start to really fuck you up after a while, with shotgun enemies insta-killing you and everyone else sapping half your health every time they hit you. You're supposed to be able to use shoot-dodge mechanics to stop this, but then there's enemies that lead their shots because this game doesn't have hit scans. All the bullets exist in real time and have travel time, however short. Not to mention your crosshair is this tiny-ass dot. That's not very forgiving. So this guy here hitting me with a shotgun now isn't a problem, but a few levels from now it will be. Max nonchalantly crashes a train and ices some more goons before...
But also it's like the failure count is rising.
It's not much sewer. The level is mostly about these criminals robbing a bank, but the whole place is full of rats anyway. That's New York for you, but I'm a hard-boiled NYPD detective. Rats don't scare me. Now, back to brooding and crime fighting. So I've got some detonators.
Well, hey, Hey, Civvie, I'm creating a video series about Star Wars and I think New York has a crime problem. The police like weird. I never liked New York, or as I like to call it,
What the fuck? Alright, I'm bringing out the sawed-off. I underestimated this gun originally, but it's actually really good at killing 1 or 2 enemies at a time, and slow-mo can be abused to reload it quick. They're still hard as hell to hit. So I stole some detonators to blow open this door in a spectacular display of destruction from a game in 2001, and then...
Max, Jesus, you almost gave me a heart attack. I nearly shot you.
Your partner, Alex Balder, says that these are Jack Lupino's men, but before he can say any more, he gets killed. And for some reason, the murder is blamed on Max, despite the fact that New York in this game has more murder in it than New York in the 70s. Okay, now begins our journey into the night as a man with nothing to lose. The cops are after us, the mob is after us, the goddamn rats are after us, but we're heavily armed and we've got a full supply of opioids, so it's time for a drug-fueled rampage through the city. Starting with the Finito brothers, who I guess didn't hear about Max killing dozens of mobsters in the subway. They trapped themselves in a room with him. I kinda understand. Max can take only 4 or 5 bullets to bring down, but not this time. There's plenty of plot going on in this hotel. Hookers using videotaped sex acts to blackmail powerful people, a thing that's gonna come up again, drug deals, and all sorts of unsavory characters.
You go and get him.
Guys, there was a fire extinguisher right there. This includes Rico Muerte, who may have a sillier name than Max Payne. We meet him in the bar downstairs where he's really casually getting blown. Like, really not noticing, so I'm forced to believe that this hooker sucks worse than the Borderlands movie. You know, until the fight is over and I see this. Jesus, that guy was a walking sperm bank. He had more cum in him than a dorm room shower drain. This is probably the first fight in the game that really tests my patience. You got 4 goons, plus this prostitute, who takes Desert Eagle rounds to the chest really well for a living thing. Though I suspect I'm hitting mostly silicone. Her boss has his pants down the whole fight. It's terrific. It's such a beautiful, stupid detail. Once he's dead, we're introduced to my favorite degenerate Goomba in the Max Payne universe. The capo of cringe, the whiny wise guy, Vinny Gagnetti.
Gagnetti was a high-strung whiner on the verge of breaking apart, like an overamped Energizer bunny.
Are you freaking kidding me? He's just one lousy cop. You better be freaking kidding me. Whack him. What's the freaking problem?
I wish we could meet him right away, but instead we have to meet my second favorite mobster in the Max Payne universe, Vladimir Lem. And man, I hope nothing happens in Max Payne 2 to make me wish I'd never met either of these characters. Vlad is a competitor to the Italian mob. He shows up again later. We run through another horrible slum full of junkies. I don't generally shoot the Valkyr addicts, because I can't stand the sounds they make. The cops are closing in on us anyway. There's a mysterious man named Alfred Woden who calls us on a payphone. He'll be important later, too. We recruit one of the junkies to get us into a safe house here.
It's me. Open up. Let me in, quick.
Not so fast. The password. John who?
Come on. Oh, okay, John Woo.
All right. Come right in.
It's a trap! Hey!
Oh yeah, that's the stuff. One of the reasons that Max Payne doesn't disappear up its own ass in the despair of its protagonist is that the game is actually pretty funny. These 2 idiots blow themselves up, which is funny by itself, but then this Buster Keaton-ass visual gag to top it off. Beautiful. Back to Vinny.
Vinny Gagnetti, just the man I've been killing to see.
Payne?
I knew from day one there was something screwy about you. What do you think you're doing? You're a freaking cop. You ain't got squat on us. You can't just come in here waving your piece like it meant something. Yeah! Oh my God! Oh God, you shot me! Ah!
Ah, you shot me! I got a bullet in my gut and I'm about to run across the city, jump on a speeding train, slap a couple of underage hookers, and then you're dead, Payne! This is the next fight that really tests you and your ability to take out the dual Ingrams and spray bullets everywhere because you absolutely need to. And you guessed it, they are absolutely Mac 11s. Vinny somehow survives this.
Where's Lupino?
Screw you!
Bad start, Vinny.
Ah! Police brutality!
I rate pretty high on that.
Yeah, even for a New York cop.
You can't just hurt me in cold blood?
Just keep telling yourself that. The good and the just were like gold dust in the city. I had no illusions. I was not one of them. I was no hero. Just me and the gun and the crook. My options had decreased to a singular course.
I do actually really like the writing in this game. It's perfectly pulpy.
I'll tell you, just don't hurt me no more. Lupino's at Ragnarok, the nightclub.
Oh yeah, and it thematically weaves a lot of references to Norse mythology into the plot. Valkyr, Ragnarok, Aesir. Ragnarok is the end of the world where titans face off, which is kickstarted by the death of Balder. You know, like Alex Balder. It's all over the place. This isn't a level of writing I remember seeing much of in video games. Good for Sam Lake. So now it's off to have a chat with Jack Lupino. I'm sure there's nothing behind that name either. In a rogues gallery of psychotic mobsters, Jack Lupino somehow makes the rest of them look warm and cuddly by comparison.
Die! You'll die! You'll die! Now! Oh! Die!
Yeah, Howlin' Mad Jack here has been getting high off of his own supply and maybe got a little lost in his mythological references because despite the club being called Ragnarok, Jack's gotten really interested in satanic stuff. That's fine, bullets work on anybody no matter how crazy they are, but a bunch of his henchmen are a lot stronger. And like a lot of high school kids who get into a Satanism phase, they wear big black trench coats all the time. We are now at the point in the game where the difficulty is ramped up all the way and shotgun blasts will kill you instantly. I'm not trying to hold it against the game because sometimes I look down at that health meter at the end of a fight and I say to myself, you know what, Civvie? You can do better. So I reload a quick save.
Look at me. Hell no, I ain't got no nothing. There he is.
I want to look cool in Max Payne, okay? The game wants you to want to look cool. That being said, the further the game goes on, the less I give a shit about looking cool, and it's like, hey Civvie, you saved all this Ingram ammo, maybe it's time to let loose and spray the whole place with bullets so you can make some progress. Jack Lupino's getting threats from Don Punchinello, so he's probably not long for this world anyway. The Don sends the trio after me later, and they could probably deal with Lupino, though they might end up a solo act by the end. You guys remember that?
Die! You'll die! You'll die! Now! Oh! Die! Oh!
Get ready to hear that a lot. Thanks to Max taking what seems like forever to get to his feet after diving, things like getting plugged while getting up or getting a Molotov thrown at my face while getting up, I get to hear that line a lot. No longer will I be underestimating the sawed-off shotgun, because it ends up being able to reliably stun this junkie and punch his ticket.
Lupino finally went down. I wanted to make real sure he'd stay that way. V was a bad monster. Turned them into friggin' zombie demons from outer space.
I think he's dead already.
Huh? And that's when it happened.
But dead or not, you've got the wrong guy.
Nah, I think I got the right guy. He might not have framed me, but he was a crazy devil-worshipping V-fiend who threw a Molotov cocktail, and I can't stress this enough, right at my fucking face. It clipped through, but the damage was done. If the mob family stuff wasn't complicated enough, here's Mona Sachs, twin sister of the Don's wife, Lisa Punchinello. Mona happens to be a professional killer, and Max is so down bad for this girl that he accepts a drink from her. But not before she tells him that Lupino couldn't have arranged his frame-up since he was busy being crazy. It's a good alibi, I guess, but that doesn't excuse the drugging and the level that comes after it.
Somewhere, the baby was crying.
I hate it, I loathe it, I despise it. What was an interesting novelty in 2001 has become a tedious maze, where I have to platform across narrow ledges like they had Sandy Peterson on as a special guest level designer. I know Max feels guilty because he couldn't save his family, but who moved him to New Jersey in the first place, Max? Okay, fine, Michelle and the baby died because she was getting too close to the Valkyr conspiracy, but still, I hate this level. It does lead to one of my favorite lines in the whole game, so...
Pleased to meet you. I'm Frankie the Bat Niagara.
Niagara, as in you cry a lot? He had a baseball bat and I was tied to a chair. Pissing him off was the smart thing to do.
That's what I'm talking about with James McCaffrey's delivery. His pitch-perfect sarcasm when dealing with these ridiculous mafia guys is always fantastic. But yeah, then Frankie the Bat beats the shit out of him with a bat. That's okay, we break a chair and kill everybody. We're in a new chapter, so Max loses all of his weapons and has to use this bat, briefly.
We'll take... What the...
Do I barely survive alerting every mobster on the block? Sure, barely. But that's Max Payne. I've read that the dynamic difficulty will go down if you die a bunch of times and let the animations finish, but I ain't got the patience for that, so I'm gonna keep pushing through. We've been here before, a couple of hours ago, and the police have come and gone since. I'm about to re-crime scene it, though. This bar isn't any easier the second time. Frankie Niagara mostly kills me, but it's fine. Max drives away, but he's being tailed by Vlad.
Bang. You're dead, Max Payne.
I'm amazed the fucking finger guns didn't kill me with how difficult this game gets.
I am going to make you an offer you can't refuse. I've always wanted to say that.
Max Payne is like a hard-boiled detective, albeit with an exponentially higher body count, as he just kind of wanders through the story and shit happens to him. Like we do this side quest for Vlad where he wants me, Max Payne, one guy, to go to the docks and reclaim a cargo ship for him, and he'll help me out later on with his connections.
Vladimir was one of those old-time bad guys with honor and morals, which made him almost one of the good guys. None of us was a saint.
Max, please, I'm begging you, stop trusting everyone. The docks level occasionally kinda sucks. This could be a case of Valve-style blue-balling, though, because I notice it puts a lot of guys in hard-to-reach areas that I have to hit with the Desert Eagle, since that's my best option for long range. And then it gives you the sniper rifle. Remember, the big thick coats are basically bulletproof, so it'll take 2 blasts from the sawed-off to down one of these guys. I think this is where the game becomes a war of attrition. There's a lot of tight corners where guys with shotguns will just fuck you up. It might be the hardest part of the game, but it's hard to judge because really from this point forward you're in hell. Ha, you get it? Because Karen was the ferryman to the underworld? Yeah.
Charon. Drachma.
The captain goes down fairly easy. And I'm rewarded with a shitload of guns and ammo. And now that I think about it, so is Vlad. I'm sure killing all of Vlad's competition and outfitting him with a ton of weapons isn't gonna come back to haunt me later. Max? Max, you dipshit! We get the Colt Commando here, the best weapon in the game, by far, but the game isn't gonna tell us that yet, because Don Punchinello invites us to his restaurant and is so desperate to deal with Max that he torches the place with Max inside. And it looks like a nice restaurant. Well, this seems like a low-key filler mission nowadays. Back in 2001, the fire effects were mind-blowing and lauded among game critics. Anyway, the Colt Commando... This gun surpasses anything else in the game simply because it's high damage, high accuracy, and later on, ammo for it is basically falling from the sky.
The mobsters have been guarding a real treasure. The way out of this disco inferno.
Vlad picks me up and gives me a ride to the Punchinello Manor because he's a nice guy like that. We get to kill the trio, his previously mentioned enforcers that were going to take care of Jack Lupino. No, that's fine, I'll deal with him. The way doors work in this game fucking pisses me off. I have to somehow avoid getting blasted through the door after opening it, which means I have to move to the side, but then the door automatically closes because this is a video game. And I'm not just gonna go into that room because that's gonna get me killed. The first guy is softened up by a grenade.
One down, 2 to go. Two down, 1 to go.
Alright, but I want the next one to feel special.
Don't stop at him!
This will stop anything. Take cover.
Punchinello's trio was done for.
Alright, looks like we've destroyed an entire mob family.
Punchinello was a pushover. The moment I stepped into the room, he folded like a deuce before a royal flush.
No, wait. I was just doing what I was told. I couldn't refuse. She's someone high up. Government, maybe. I don't know.
Drop it. Don't move.
Game over, Max Payne.
We're up to 2 femme fatales in this game. I hope Max doesn't accept a drink from this one, too.
I could tell when I was outgunned. It was time to take another beating.
No, I told him nothing.
The mystery witch was a real barracuda. Trouble on dagger heels, a smoking assault rifle in her hand.
Excuse me, Max, but I'm pretty sure that is a submachine gun, an Uzi to be precise, and to be more precise, oh yeah, you know it, a Mac 11. While she hasn't introduced herself yet, this is Nicole Horn, head of the Acer Corporation, continuing to profit off of a military-devised superdrug that was supposed to be good for blah blah blah. She injects Max with Valkyr, and you know what happens? He doesn't become a superhuman angel of death. He has another awful dream sequence.
The witch had got me just as sure as if she put a gun to my head and pulled the trigger.
Or so you'd think. Well, I don't hate this one as much as the last one, mostly because of this gem.
There was something disturbingly familiar about the letter before me. The handwriting was all pretty curves.
You're in a computer game, Max.
The truth was a burning green crack through my brain, weapon statistics hanging in the air, glimpsed out of the corner of my eye, endless repetition of the act of shooting, time slowing down to show off my moves, the paranoid feel of someone controlling my every step.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Max. I'll do a better job in the next game.
I was in a computer game. Funny as hell, it was the most horrible thing I could think of.
This dream sequence at least has things like Max trying to snap himself out of it, which is good. And then it has another section with really weird, floaty, slow-motion platforming that makes the last one look like a thing I'd play voluntarily. Max's wife's lines don't sound good and repeat over and over.
No, please, Max, no! I'm sorry. Please don't, Max, no!
Valkyr, on top of being a terrible drug that seems to send you on the worst trips, also takes all my weapons away. So when I follow Horn to the steel plant because she said that's where they were going, because she didn't think that Max Payne, a man who single-handedly wiped out most of the Punchinello crime family, give or take a Gogniti, might survive a bad trip, since I suspect his tolerance for controlled substances is pretty high since he is, after all, in his own domestic and socially acceptable way, also a drug addict. Katie, no, you cannot So Max, after grabbing a bunch of guns from his buddy Vlad in the previous chapter, doesn't think to do that again. And we start with a single Beretta. Not that it takes long to acquire better guns, because that awesome rifle we had before, well, most of Horn's mercenaries have them. As far as I'm concerned, the next few levels of Max Payne are filled with, filler. These goons have better weaponry, plus grenades, which I may not have mentioned this, but grenades in this game are a one-way ticket to Valhalla if you're within 10 feet of them. And they'll get you halfway there if you're within 20. I wish they killed the enemies as reliably. Don't you get it? With all the hot steel, it's like I'm descending into hell. The sniper rifle kills are cool and all until you realize that the game is still going on this whole time and you're still gonna die while the bullet is traveling to its target. Who is putting all these laser trip mines around, for fuck's sake? You got nothing. The lab where they invented Valkyr is under the steel mill, so the goons set the self-destruct and also place mines everywhere. And we find out that Valkyr junkies murdered Max's family, and so we go and have a chat with BB because we need another level of padding, which is the parking garage, which is just fucking misery. A lot of these areas are copied and pasted, whole hallways, rooms, so it gets a little... And it's like, why even go into bullet time? I'm just gonna die slower. You see, the parking garage in Norse mythology symbolizes a descent into the underworld. The sniper rifle doesn't do its fancy little animation where you can't move while firing if you no-scope. And there are goons who will just appear from thin air, and BB is here and he tells you that he killed your partner, so there aren't really any more mysteries left for Max Payne to uncover, and yet there are still 2 more levels of this game after this, and they are exactly as punishing. You go to talk to Alfred Woden, who Horn has been blackmailing with sex tapes, because obviously this guy is going into gang-controlled slums in New York City to bang prostitutes. He really seems like the type, but you're his bitch now. You're his pawn to take Horn down, because she continued with Valkyr production even after the government shut it down. And he says he can pull strings so that if I go and waste her, I'll be in the clear, which is a lot of strings to pull. So then Horn's mercenaries attack, and this is basically the steel mill fights inside of this mansion. We don't need it. I don't really need to talk about it. This video is long enough. We get to the Acer Corporation's headquarters and recognize it as the building from the beginning, and let me tell you, you're not getting to the top of this place without a fight and enough painkillers for Max's liver to crawl out of his asshole in protest. It's all fun and games until Acer mercs are lining the walls shooting fucking M79s at you. This part right here has been burned into my brain for 23 years. It was the first time I thought, you know what, this game is just fucking with me now. The parts of Max Payne that I enjoy, with the goon shooting and the snappy writing and the drive to push on and uncover the mystery, it's gone by now. I want to get through this and I want to make Nicole Horn pay for her malicious game design. Now, kids, is the time you're supposed to go into the comments and say, Civvie, you're wrong, this notoriously difficult game is actually very easy and you should be playing it properly on the PlayStation 2. Even an automatic shotgun doesn't make things easier. And I'm not mentioning the part where Mona Sachs absolutely did not die. Horn sends a helicopter after me, which doesn't really do much. I get to her office, take the secret exit to the roof. Oh, you bitch! Really showing off your skills from the Acer Softball League, ain't ya? This leads to a pretty underwhelming boss fight, if you can call it that. This isn't like any of the other fights in this game, because it's not a fight, it's a puzzle. Kinda. You have to shoot the supports to this tower, and then shoot the tower so it falls onto her helicopter. The ending cutscene is cool, don't get me wrong, and it's very cathartic to know that she is absolutely not coming back. And we're back to where the game started. It's weird to say that this game ends abruptly when it probably should have ended 2 levels ago. Max gets arrested, but...
It wouldn't be over till the man with the patch would say so. He'd say the right words. I knew he would. he'd better. Woden grinned smugly. It was the grin of a winner. That made two of us.
Yes, Max, your family was murdered and you've been passed around as a pawn between different mobsters and shady organizations throughout the entire game, but hey, you've won, and no one can take that away from you. Except Rockstar. Max Payne is still a legendary game. It was the coolest thing anyone had ever seen in 2001. Maybe one day I'll play it with that fix for the difficulty scaling.
No, you won't.
Really?
Nah.
What if it's not for a video?
You're never playing Max Payne again. You'll play 2 eventually, then probably 3. You don't get to play video games for fun anymore.
That's kinda depressing. I guess we'll always have Ragnarok, and chase it after Vinny Gognitti, and the baseball bat. Oh, and you know what? That fight at the end of Woden's chapter was actually pretty fun too. And the part where you finally catch up